Howdy, guys. Welcome to night 32 in the Big Brother All-Stars house. This is Cliff Notes from outside the All-Star house. Hope y'all had a fantastic Saturday. So, the Big Brother house guests had a very interesting Saturday, and yes, that's part of the interesting that we'll talk about. So, just a refresher on what happened Saturday, yesterday. Selected players for the veto competition. Well, first of all, Christmas's HOH, Bailey and Davon are on the block. Power veto competition. They drew people. Bailey, Davon, and Christmas obviously competing, and then we also had Danny and Nicole and Ian were the three extra house guests selected to compete in the power veto. So they did that in the morning. They had the power veto competition later in the day. We do have a winner, guys. So the winner for the veto competition this week is Christmas. Christmas has won now the HOH and the veto this week, so she has complete control. Unless there's some weird power, we still don't know what the third power, mystery power, was, but probably she has complete power this week. So the competition itself, for those of you who didn't catch it before, all in an evening. It sounds like it was a sprint competition. Everyone lined up. Whoever goes off, hits the buttons first. The person who's last to hit their button loses. You can't take off until this is the same competition that Christmas did. She won it even though she had a broken foot, was in a cast because everyone threw it to her. That one, I think they said go, or there was a green light released. This time it sounds like it was some kind of math equations. They would throw out equations until something added up to 13, for example. And as soon as that equation popped up, took off running. And this also was a punishment reward competition. Not only are we playing for veto, but there was money to be had, some punishments. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. So again, Christmas won. Some of the other information worth knowing from that power veto. Ian was selected, but he didn't play. Apparently, I've heard rumors, and that's all it is at this point, that maybe he had a little bit of a panic attack, but he has talked on the live feeds tonight that he also had a medical issue with blood pressure, to the point that it sounds like they said, you're not going out in this heat. It was hot. It was like 107 degrees heat index out there while they were doing this competition. We had one like that last season, that win it and you're in it, the very last veto competition where the heat did a number on me. So full sympathy for Ian. I get it. But Ian wasn't able to compete. Nicole won a sloppy cereal punishment right here. She has to wear that for the next week. She has to wear it everywhere she goes, except when she's in bed. She has to put it on and off inside the shower. So at backyard and everything. So she's not real happy, but she's has her punishment. Davon won money. I'm not sure if it's 5,000, 10,000, something like that. But Davon won money. Not sure what Danny got. Haley got a punishment. We'll talk about that in a second. She has to ride a tricycle around a little track in the backyard. 500 laps. She has to do it in 12 hours. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So that was the result of the POV. Once that is settled, the ceremony is going to be on Monday. Yes, it's possible that Christmas could put someone, change up the nominations, put someone else on there. But unless something weird happens between now and Monday, it's probably not going to happen. In fact, someone brought it up. I think it was Davon who said, "Oh, you've got the power, Christmas. We could backdoor someone. We could create an alliance. We could do all these things." Christmas sat there, paused for a long time, and said, "Yeah, that's not really my style, Davon." Man, it was kind of her style back in her first season, where I seem to recall there may have been some backdoors of Kevin and Jason, perhaps. I could be wrong, but anyway, not her style. At least probably not this week. So there you go. Now, once the POV competition has taken place, we start seeing some campaigning. It's kind of soft campaigning. It's not hardcore. Davon is certainly doing more than Bailey is, it seems like, at this point. And Davon's saying, "Look, yeah, I love Bailey, but I'm going to do what I can to stay in this game. I'm playing for my daughter." She has said she's not going to campaign against Bailey. She's just going to campaign for herself. But she's been hitting up people all week long, and she was doing it this evening as well. So all week, all day long, and then doing it this evening as well. So Davon has started campaigning. Bailey, not quite so much. A little bit. Bailey's talked to some people too, but not quite as aggressively. So we have that. All right. A few conversations that we'll cover this evening, or this morning at this point in time. First of all, up in the HOH room, Memphis, Cody, Christmas, and Nicole, they're talking about the whole issue of Bailey versus Davon. Who do we want to keep? Who do we want to send home? A few points that are brought up that probably says not good things about Davon's chances of staying. They say that, first of all, Davon is not an emotional voter. Nicole says she voted logically and everything when she voted for me, even though I kind of burned her in our season. So she's not an emotional voter, and that's good. They all want that. She says also, in 3 seasons of Big Brother, Davon has never won any challenge whatsoever. So they're not as worried about her from a competition threat. Also, Memphis makes a point. He says, hey, Bailey said she would rather go out pre-jury if it comes down to it. So maybe that's the way to go as well. Later in another conversation between Danny and Enzo, they also talk about the fact that Bailey would be better in doing a battle back against Janelle. Now, we know there's no battle back, but they don't know it. And so there is the thinking that let's get the most competitive person possible out the door now, because hopefully then she can compete against Janelle, and one or the other goes home, and I'm sure they're thinking they just soon see Janelle stay outside the house. So that's certainly coming into play also in their minds. So we do have that. Conversation in the photo room. This is between Cody and Danny. It's actually a pretty long conversation, but just a few of the key highlights. Danny's a little perturbed that Cody didn't tell her about this assumption that Tyler was telling Bailey and Davon that Danny was after them. You know, the whole they're after me and I'm after them, and you know, who spun it, who said it, and all that thing. Well, Danny's not the innocent victim. She certainly was throwing Bailey and Davon's names up a little bit. But anyway, so she's a little perturbed that Cody didn't say anything about when he heard that there was this talk about possibly backdooring Danny, and oh, you got my vote. You know, I'm not gonna let that happen. But she's still a little upset. Cody says, look, I didn't want you, I didn't say, I probably would have never said anything because I don't want you doing anything like putting Tyler up on the block because you're upset with him. And he's really downplaying how much he knew, how serious he thought it was. He's saying that, hey, Davon said that Tyler thought that Danny was trying to pin stuff on him, but, you know, it's just conversation. I don't know. Cody's saying he talked to Tyler after that and said, hey, why are you trying to mess with our alliance, mess with our numbers? Chill out. We don't need to be doing that. So Cody's really downplaying, but Danny's a little, she's not real happy. Cody didn't really keep her in the loop on what all was going on with that. Another conversation, this is between Enzo and Danny. Danny is asking if, all right, that's interesting. Danny says, Enzo, do you have a power? He says, yeah, but then, and he said, no, I don't. She said, no, you said you did. And he said, no, I didn't. No, I never said that. She said, no, you're not going to convince me now. I heard you say it. So she suspects Enzo has the power. Enzo could have that third power. Absolutely, he could have it. He hadn't told anyone, including the cameras, to my knowledge so far, though. In the HOH room, this is between Christmas and Tyler. Christmas is saying that Bailey had said that Tyler was the one that told her that Danny was after her. Again, back to that whole he said, she said. Tyler's saying, I never said that. I never said that she was, that they were, that Danny was after her. And Christmas is saying, well, it doesn't matter whether you did or not because Danny believes it. She thinks that you said that to them, that you kind of threw Danny under the bus. She thinks it. Christmas is also saying, look, Bailey has to go. She's saying that, also saying that Danny had said that Bailey more or less implied to her that she and Tyler have a final two. Kind of. I don't know they ever officially said this is a final two, but they certainly said they were going to watch each other. They were going to be each other's secret buddies or something. This conversation took place up in the HOH room. So they certainly were saying they had each other's backs. So that word got out as well. Yet another reason that Danny's wanting Bailey out. A lot of people are wanting Bailey out for a variety of reasons. Christmas is also talking about Nicole Franzel saying, hey, Nicole trusts me more than anyone. Tyler saying, yeah, she may be a little tighter with Danny, and but who knows? They're also they're worried that Bailey, Nicole, and Danny might be trying to backdoor Tyler, or Tyler's worried about this. I think they may be going after me. And Christmas says, no, I haven't heard that. They're not talking about backdooring you. I heard a little talk about it. How serious? Who knows? But yeah, Danny's not necessarily, or Christmas not necessarily spilling all the beans. So there's been a little talk. We'll see. So Tyler is wondering, also same conversation. Tyler's wondering, saying, hey, does Cody know all about this and he's just not telling me? So at least in front of Christmas, Tyler's expressing a little uncertainty, a little suspicion of Cody. That's in front of Christmas. When Cody and Tyler are together, they may be a little tighter than they're letting on right now. Who knows? All right, another conversation. This is in the photo room. Cody, Tyler, and Enzo. We can't trust Danny. Something has to happen next week. We're good this week. We'll be fine. But next week, something has to happen. They're also saying, and Memphis, he's not even in the game, which, yeah, that's kind of true. But that's a strategy. They're talking about a possible backdoor, saying, could we do something this week? Get Danny out or something. And Cody says, look, before you do a backdoor, you've got to have the votes. And I just don't know if we have them right now. We need to make sure we've got enough votes to survive and move forward after that. So they want to get out some of the, I hate to say easy targets because that's not really the case, but they want to get out people that aren't within their core alliance before kind of attacking some of the other people. He says, but hey, if we win HOH next week, things should settle down, and then all bets are off. Let's take care of Danny, or we'll do what we need to do. All right, so we have that. Diary room, and that's funny. Diary room, or the big brother comes on and says, Nicole Anthony, please come to the diary room. Well, Nicole Franzel gets very offended, very upset. She said, no, you can't be doing that, big brother. Nicole Anthony may be a little offended as well. She gets called to the diary room. Nicole gets her slop-tard costume right here. Again, she has to wear it all the time outside. Not sure if she can even get in the pool or anything. So she's doing that. Has to wear it full time. Meanwhile, right after that, Bailey gets her triathlete punishment outfit. And basically, she goes out in the backyard. They've got a little track set up in a quarter of the backyard. She has to ride 500 laps on this tricycle. She has to do it in 12 hours. If she can't do it in 12 hours, then the punishment is she can't compete the next week in the veto competition and maybe the HOH. I've seen some people saying that as well. But certainly she can't compete in some competitions if she doesn't do these 500 laps. Now, here's my idea. Bailey knows that she's the primary target. There's a very, very good chance that she's going home this week. What would happen if you turn that punishment into an advantage by saying, I refuse to compete. I'm not doing it. So you don't let me compete in veto next week. Hey, don't let me compete in HOH next week. Fine, I'll take the punishment. I'm not riding this tricycle around. Does that suddenly make her a lot more attractive when it comes down to picking Davon or Bailey going forward? If they know they can send Davon out the door and Bailey can't compete in any competitions next week, so she's completely unprotected and helpless. I just thought, all right, little tip or little forward information. It doesn't matter at this point because she finished the challenge, so it's a moot point at this junction. But I thought that was kind of interesting. So there you go. All right, another conversation. This is in the kitchen. This is between Davon and Danny, and again, Davon is starting to campaign with different people. Danny's saying, "Look, I don't know what to tell Bailey, and I think it's about that she's going to vote to keep Davon." And Davon's saying, "Look, Bailey knows that you are my untouchable, so she's going to understand. It's not a big deal. She'll understand what you're doing." Danny's also saying that she's going to work on Cody and Enzo to keep Davon in the house. Davon is saying that she's working with David. I think Danny says, remember, you kind of almost blew up your game to protect David back there when he was on the block with Nicole Anthony. And Davon says, oh, yeah, I'll remind him of that. So Davon is working the angles and doing what she can already, like an earthquake over here. All right, another conversation. This is between Cody and Danny. Cody is saying that, hey, if I win HOH, I'm putting Kevin on the block. Oh, that's strategic. I shouldn't say that. It's a safe move. He says he's putting Kevin on the block, and he says we're hearing talk about a double. If there's a double, I want Ian out as well. He says now Nicole, she's not gonna like it. It's gonna be like ripping off a Band-Aid. Just do it, have it done with. But Ian needs to go. They've already said they don't trust Ian in this house, and so if it's a double, he wants to get out Kevin, and then he wants to get out Ian. So he's still trying to pick off these kind of independent people, or at least they're calling them friendlies. That's the word of the day. Last couple of days is they may not be in our alliance, but they're a friendly. Well, they don't consider Kevin to be a friendly, so that's who Cody wants to go after. Cody's talking about Nicole Anthony to Danny, saying, "Man, Nicole Anthony talked so much shit to you, Danny. So much shit about you while she was in the house." No, she didn't. No, she didn't. And even if she did, she wouldn't have been telling Cody about it. So it's kind of, but Cody's trying to, I guess, get Danny a little nervous and make sure that she knows that she has to rely on Cody to protect her. So there you go. All right, final conversation. Bailey finishes her punishment after about 4 hours. All the house guests are there to cheer on. Yay! All right, guys, y'all have a great one. See you in about 24 hours. Monday morning, SKD 143. Cheers, guys.